Welcome back everyone, I'm Maximilian and you're watching Day 3 of the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Breakdown. Today, we're going to be talking about Strider Hiryu and the leaked list of the entire roster for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Right off the bat, I am extremely excited that Strider has actually made it into a modern-day fighting game. Initial impressions are that Strider is a battery character, meant to be on point for most teams and build meter. He's extremely fast, has multiple effective teleports, and other useful projectiles to keep enemies at bay. Is this sounding familiar, you might ask? Well, honestly, in my eyes, it actually is. Strider's playstyle is kind of reminiscent of Zero already in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Zero has low health, distributes low damage, but is an extremely effective battery or on-point character. Some elements are a little bit difficult to compare to the current game because of the damage difference in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Like we were saying in the previous video, damage seems very high in this game. From a few players at San Diego Comic-Con, they mentioned that Strider's playstyle isn't exactly as reminiscent of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but more familiar to Marvel vs. Capcom 1. It's also very interesting that they beefed up all of the special moves that Strider had in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 that were practically useless, and made them much more effective in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The wall cling and his Excalibur moves are actually extremely effective for moving around the screen now. But in an interesting design decision, Strider is actually the only character in the entire cast to have 2 level 3s. The first is Ragnarok, which seems extremely damaging in itself. But if you're looking for the opportunity to potentially kill an entire character with 1 level 3, then Ouroboros is the way to go. It's not free damage or a free win by any means, but the mix-up potential for this super is ridiculous. Overall, Strider is looking like a complete blast to play as in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It appears he's going to be a high-risk but high-reward character due to his low health, but to be honest, that's how he was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I wouldn't have it any other way. That's going to just about do it for Strider right now. But don't worry, there's going to be much more coming later. I'm going to be attending EVO this weekend and they're going to have playable builds of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And you better believe I'm going to get my hands on this game and this character as much as possible with the time I have. Alright, now what you really want to see, let's take a look at that leaked character roster. First up on the Capcom side, Frank West from Dead Rising. Some of you might be surprised, but this isn't Frank West's first fighting game. He actually made his debut in the American release of Tatsunoko vs. Capcom early last year. He's a fan favorite and actually a staple of modern-day Capcom video games. But you might be wondering, wasn't Frank originally going to be in Marvel 3? And the answer is yes, he actually was. Rumor was that Frank was initially scrapped from the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 project due to RAM issues and other technical problems that appeared when using the character online. It only makes sense that he'd appear in UMVC3 as they had more time to make the character technically function properly. But to me, it seemed like there was always another Capcom character I'd prefer other than Frank, and I was a little disappointed with his inclusion in TVC as well. Frank West and his RAM issues get a 6 out of 10 on my personal hype meter. Next on the list is a first-time character in the Versus series, and one of the more surprising announcements so far, Virgil from Devil May Cry 3. In the DMC games, Virgil is Dante's identical twin, but they're polar opposites in ideology. But what does this mean for his character in gameplay? Is he going to be similar to Dante with his 40+ moves? Or is he going to have unique skill sets that are different from Devil May Cry characters? He's known for yielding a sheathed sword, but I'm curious if his playstyle is going to be similar to Karas in TVC. But I'm sure a lot of you guys are rolling your eyes thinking, oh great, another asshole with a sword. But there's a lot to pull from the Devil May Cry saga that can be used as far as specific moves and unique character moves to make Virgil a very different character. Personally, I'm kind of looking forward to what Virgil's going to play like. So I'm going to give Virgil a 9 out of 10 on my Dudes with Swords hype meter. Next up is one of the most popular villains in video game history, Nemesis from Resident Evil. Stars. So in the process of all these characters being leaked for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, this giant illustration of Nemesis appears out of nowhere, and there's only 3 words that I can even recall. What the f***? I just totally didn't see it coming. Nemesis has never really been in anything besides Resident Evil games, and to see him make an appearance in a Versus game is pretty shocking. I mean, I don't even think I have anything to compare him to. He's a 9-foot-tall, bulging, biological monster that hunts STARS members. He's always seen brandishing a gigantic bazooka, but I'm kinda curious if they'll make him a weapons character or a melee combat fighter. And if they do go that route, this dude deserves 4 hits of super armor. With all that being said, Nemesis gets a 9 out of 10 on my what the fuck hype meter. And last on the Capcom side is one of the more surprising but expected character inclusions, Phoenix Wright from Ace Attorney. Now, if you're seeing that Phoenix Wright is in a Marvel vs. Capcom game, you probably have one of two opinions. You're extremely excited that Phoenix Wright has finally made it into another game besides the DS, or you're brutally disappointed that they put this fool in for Mega Man. However, I am kind of mixed between the two. Phoenix Wright seems like an awfully awkward character inclusion considering he's not a fighter or a combat character in any way at all in his original games. He's a lawyer. He screams out, "Objection!" And he would throw the book at people, I guess? However, this is what Capcom game designers do best. They've taken characters that have only existed in 2D mediums for the most part, and they essentially flesh them out and make them full-born fighting game characters. I fully trust that Capcom will make Phoenix Wright an actual interesting character with unique moves, and I'm really curious to see how he turns up in the final game. So Phoenix Wright is going to get an 8 out of 10 on my personal "where the hell is Mega Man" hype meter. But I'm sure you guys are all asking that same question and are just as concerned as I am. How the hell did Mega Man not make it into a Marvel vs. Capcom game? Recent interviews with Ryota Nitsuma and Seth Killian explain that Mega Man and Gene from God Hand had made it into several rounds down the character roster line when they were choosing who was going to be final. It appears that based off certain specifics and random factors, Mega Man just didn't make it into the game. Call this what you will with Mega Man Legends 3 being cancelled, or the Mega Man is dead rumor going around. I'm thinking it was more of a coincidence than anything. The decision to cancel the recent Mega Man games was made not too long ago, but the character roster for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had probably been decided several months ago. Although, all hope isn't lost. After being drilled during interviews and online about Mega Man not making into the game, they explained that the possibility of character DLC and further expansions for the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 engine were not going to be looked into until the sales figures of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 have been evaluated. I can see it now. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 plus Alpha, featuring Mega Man X. Capcom, take my money. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in Part 4 of the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Breakdown, where we cover the remaining 4 Marvel characters.
Star.